and welcome to Six Figure Signature Offers, the podcast for women in business who want to create brands that become the hot tamale of their industry and sold out scalable offers that bring home the bacon without burning them out. I'm your host, online business strategist Robin Birkin. I've gone from managing 8-figure marketing budgets and big teams to creating 2 multi-6-figure businesses in part-time hours by design. If you're ready to attract Cloud9 clients in droves, sell out your scalable offers, and not bring your laptop to the beach, then welcome, let's go. Hi, I am so excited to be joining you today to talk all about lead generation. Now, if you've listened to the last 2 episodes of the podcast, you will know that, in my opinion, attraction is everything for 2026. And within the mastermind, within my programs, we are going all in on supporting our clients in building demand and building volume in their lead generation, in warming up their prospects, because that is the thing that is really making or breaking the sales that you have into your programs, whether those are low ticket, high ticket, whatever they are. And so a lot of people are understandably asking me questions about leads, demand generation, whether I am only about running Facebook ads and what that means. And so to that degree, I wanted to really answer the question about paid or organic, what my thoughts are, and the one quote that I think of a lot that in many ways dictates how I feel about lead generation, and that I think will change the way you think about it too. So I firmly believe, and something that I teach in my programs is what I call MAP. 3 different core ways to generate leads in your business from sort of like a marketing content perspective. A magnetic channel. So that is somewhere that you are active, that people can see the life that exists in you, that people can keep along with what's happening with your brand and with your business. So I typically recommend a magnetic channel. For me, that is Instagram. At a secondary level, sometimes Threads, but sometimes the vibe on Threads gets to me a little bit. I recommend everyone has a magnetic channel. This is where people can go to feel like they know you, to feel like they can keep up with what you're doing, where they can connect with you on, like Instagram stories, and where they generally have a sense of they can determine whether or not they like you. TikTok would also be a similar platform like this, but I don't love TikTok because I don't believe it's the best platform for conversions. And I also love Instagram because Instagram is almost in some ways a bit of a one-stop shop platform. You can sell very easily through Instagram stories. You can have the link in your bio. You can have your highlights there. You can convert people using ManyChat funnels. Like, there's all sorts of things that you can do on Instagram. TikTok, you can do some of those things, not all of those things, and I don't know that the highest converting clients are there. So I remember I did a bit of just a competition with my friend once. We each generated 2,000 followers in 1 month on TikTok. You can get lots of followers, but the difference is that they don't convert at the same level, in my opinion, as they do on Instagram. Instagram is still a very high quality, high caliber of person that is usually, for the people who I serve, they're Cloud9 clients, the people who are willing to pay to solve their problems. Then you would have an authority channel. So an authority channel in my mind is literally one of 2 things, a podcast or a YouTube channel. Literally only one of those 2 things. Do I like Substack? Yes, I do. Do I like blogging? Also, yes, I do. But I think they're supplementary. So Google has this rule that it conducted a study that showed what does the content look like that convinces people to buy. And it came back with 7-11-4 rule, if you will. And what that basically said was that people need 7 hours worth of content across 11 pieces of content that they can consume across 4 different places, right? So this is one of the things that I subscribe to, is that you need to have a volume and a depth of content. The problem with Substack and blogging, especially if that is also not supported by a lot of talking head content, for example, on Instagram, is that zebras recognize each other through their stripes. Humans recognize each other through their faces. Your people, especially in today's market, need to feel like they know you at a human level. It's so hard to do that in a really good way through Substack or blogging. Whereas when you have something like a podcast, nearly every client that I have has binged this podcast in some way, shape, or form. The other thing is that either YouTube or podcasting is what I call an evergreen traffic source. So primarily on a podcast, you're there to nurture and position yourself as the obvious choice for someone. However, you can also, and I've done this before, I had more than 1 million downloads of my last podcast. You can also be really strategic in the way that you podcast, in that it can also become an evergreen source of traffic for you and audience growth. So my last podcast, as another example, used to have 20,000 downloads per month. And it used to have that even when I wasn't publishing episodes, even when it had been 2 years since the last time I'd published an episode. So it had like self sort of generating episodes. So we have a magnetic channel such as Instagram. You can have some content that is like a little bit evergreen on Instagram, posts that will live on in the explore page. I used to have that as well for months, even years at a time. But typically you also want your podcast and YouTube channel to perform that function. YouTube is amazing. I love YouTube. YouTube is a search engine, just like podcasting, just like Substack, just like Pinterest. It is a search engine. YouTube is a search engine owned by the biggest search engine in the world, Google. People can see what you look like. They can see you working. You can visually show people what is happening. Now, the difference and the reason why I personally don't use YouTube is because as a mum, you are hard pressed to get me to sit still and watch a video. I am like audio all day long. So if you want me to consume a course, if you want me to do anything, I'm literally audio all day long. And so I am consuming content when I am walking, when I am cleaning, when I'm cooking dinner, when I'm driving. I struggle to ever sit down and watch a YouTube video, right? Especially if that video is more than like 8 or 9 minutes long. But that said, YouTube is incredible. And so one of the reasons why I podcast as well is that I can very quickly get up and going and record my podcast. I don't have to have makeup on. I don't have to be fully scripted. Whereas YouTube, I feel, requires a little bit more of that finesse in what you do. So that is why I choose podcasting. But I also think YouTube is incredible and fantastic and great. But you need to have an authority channel so that people can get to know you, so that people can see your authority and expertise, and so that you can build that connection at a humanish type level. And then I recommend paid advertising. However, this is the one quote that epitomizes everything I think about paid advertising. It is a quote, and this is where I am going to showcase myself as a marketing grandma. It is an old school marketing quote by someone called Howard Gossage. And what he says is, people don't read ads. They read what interests them. And sometimes that is an ad. So we often think of paid advertising as something separate to our organic content. I see paid advertising as an extension of our organic content that amplifies what is working and almost becomes a conversion segue. So if you feel like you don't love always asking for, comment a word for this or buy my thing, whatever it is, I love ads because they get to do that for you. Ads are one of the hardest working employees in my business. They work for me 24/7. They're constantly trying to optimize and they're doing some of the work that I don't always love doing, i.e. asking for the email address or asking for the sale. But they are going to amplify what either is or isn't working. So I had a post just after Christmas go viral. It, at last view, it was a post that I put together in 3.4 seconds, very quickly and off the cuff. It reached at last view 178,000 people. You would pay a pretty chunk of money to reach that many people through ads, right? So when you have something that works well organically, so the full disclosure on that post is I think it got me like 10 followers. It wasn't designed to be a post that got followers. The sweet spot is obviously posts that do multiple things like that. So it gets you the followers, it gets you the reach, does all those things. And again, I've had posts like that as well. Marketing is an ecosystem, so not one post is necessarily designed to do all things. When you do hit those holy grail, in your paid advertising, you obviously want to be leveraging things that work organically. And when I think of organic versus paid, I think of people like Bailey Sarian and Brad Mondo. Bailey Sarian is, this cool chick in the United States that used to have this series called Murder, Mystery and Makeup. And she used to do her makeup at the same time as talking about a murder case. It's super interesting. If you go down the rabbit hole on Facebook, you will go down the rabbit hole on Facebook. And then Brad Mondo does like hairstyles, and he's a hairdresser, and he does all of these viral TikTok video mashups where people have cut their own fringe and it's gone pear-shaped. But if you think about them, they have truly mastered the art of getting attention. One of their videos will get 5 million views. So we want to, as authorities, be able to master the art of getting attention. The other thing, though, that we want to do is also master the art of converting that into sales. So when we look at influencers, etc., it's not always both of those things. Sometimes it is. It's not always both of those things. But what we want to do, especially with our paid advertising, is learn the art of how to get attention, and then that makes your ads so much cheaper. And when I think of people who market their business with I built my business all organically, that is amazing for them. That is great. That's not my cup of tea, because when I think of that, I think, oh my God, that must have been so much work. And I think of the phrase, why walk when you can run? So I am someone who is very busy. I work part-time hours and I want lots of sales and lots of clients. So therefore, I go further, faster by leveraging ads. So it is not a question of whether you use paid advertising or organic marketing. It is a question of how you can leverage both of those in synchronicity to get the absolute best and fastest results for your business. And that is exactly what I teach inside the Peace and Profit Mastermind. So, not a question of one or the other. If you want to consistently be generating hundreds, like 300 to 1,000 or more leads in your business each and every month, in order to sustain the sales that you want. You can absolutely do that organically, but it's just going to take a lot more effort, and everything comes with a cost. You either pay with time or you pay with money. I am happy to do a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. And especially as someone who works part-time, I am super happy to pay for my little hardworking robot employee, Facebook ads manager, to go out and find the best people and then bring them into my sphere and help convert them into email subscribers and customers and all of those things. So those are my thoughts. If you have any questions about paid ads, about building your audience either through Instagram or through podcasting, come and reach out in the DMs. Every Monday I also try to do a Q&A sticker. So if you have any questions about growing on social media, about what it takes to get 1 million podcast downloads, or some of my favorite tips on Facebook advertising, those Monday Q&A posts are also a good time to do that. Anyway, I will speak to you next week. I cannot wait. It's a juicy episode all about the behind the scenes of what I am cooking up for 2026 and the 5 things I'm focusing on to double my revenue. I'll speak to you next week, and I hope you are subscribed. Bye.